Pre-roll. Well, you just got to say exactly what you just said.
What did I just say?
It was a great episode.
Yeah, it was.
We covered.
Fuck, what did we cover?
Yeah.
Your eye?
Yeah.
Mate, yeah. No, I
That's
got
literally.
that
He's back. Actually, we should touch on, he is our most successful episode we've ever had, most listened to episode. So if you haven't listened to it, our new listeners, go back and listen to the John Elliott episode where he trekked across Australia with 6 camels. But
listen to that first and
yeah.
then listen to this second.
Back
to backs.
Incredible episode. Definitely went down a different path than I was anticipating.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, that's good for a travelling pod.
Yeah. What did we chat about? Do you remember?
Oh, let's back from insurance. No, we're not selling it. We're not selling it. No. We didn't speak about any fucking insurance. Heaps cooler stuff than insurance.
Yeah.
We spoke a lot about the eye injury. So got my eye taken out by a 15-foot bullwhip. So and
Antarctica.
Yeah, loading a gun to shoot myself.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Antarctica, being vulnerable,
smoking elephant shit.
Oh, entrepreneur, like a lot of entrepreneurship stuff, like and like building a business and mindset.
If you started your own business doing elephant entrepreneur,
fucking awesome. It was a good episode, really good.
Had fun, gentlemen.
Yeah, thanks for coming
You speak
in
well.
again.
You should do public speaking.
Yeah.
I think you should.
Looking into it.
There's so many there's so many turns of phrases that include.
I've got my new nickname.
What is it?
Dartboard.
Dartboard.
Yeah, one iron hung.
I love that one.
Nice. Well, thank you guys for joining us, and shout out to all the Patreons for helping us sponsor the new move to the studio.
Yes, the new studio. We'll talk about that in the episode. And this episode is brought to you by Raunchy, not Prime. It's by Raunchy, the beer that actually tastes good.
Yeah.
I think we might have some we can give you.
And congrats to Ian for being nominated. We said this last year, but the same day. So won the best mechanic workshop. So Ian owns a mechanic workshop, Ian Jeffrey Motors, and Raunchy the brewery. So get around it. Tastes good. And the heavy diesel is my favourite at the moment.
Is it?
Yeah. It's very it's a 6.5%. So it actually tastes like booze.
Dad tried the 2-stroke the other night.
Oh, how'd it go? You ejaculate?
He didn't like it.
Yeah,
I like it, but he didn't like it because he's like, nah, it's fruity. I was like, that's craft beer.
He's too alpha.
All right.
Well, speaking of fruity, let's get hard.
Welcome to Hard Yarns Podcast.
I am fucking fat.
Anything Chris White says, please disregard it.
5D is actually a state of being. It's a unity consciousness.
That was Hard Yarns with me, Frankie Rose. So I'm going to throw it over to your co-host,
Daniel Delby.
And Cameron Brand.
I would do this and then I'd gong.
Free in attendance for the millions listening at home. Let's get hard.
RAV4?
The hybrid RAV4s.
What the fuck you rap for? To push a fucking RAV4?
Yeah, boy.
I hate RAV4s.
They
Because of that song.
Oh, yeah?
It's
I don't
fucking
even know that song.
Kanye.
Oh,
what do you
wow.
think of rap for? To push a fucking RAV4? No, yeah, exactly. He's fucking.
Where is Kanye?
That makes me feel like he's.
He's gone a bit quiet.
Yeah.
Bit dead?
Yeah.
Is he alive? Like, has he been out in public?
Yeah.
I seen a
has?
I seen a
Dating some
conspiracy.
Aussie bird.
Oh,
Yeah, he is. But I seen a conspiracy about him. Let's start with the conspiracy that he's actually been replaced.
By a clone?
Clone.
Yeah, him.
You only ever
Hart.
see him now when his missus doesn't wear a bra and goes out.
Did he marry a random Aussie?
Yeah, I don't think he married her.
Just dating some random Aussie chick.
Yeah, he's just some random.
They're like,
Aussie.
Kanye's crazy.
So
Give him a fucking Aussie chick.
That's when they knew he lost it. That's at that point. Yeah, Jewish comments. Fine.
Take the Aussie chick. He's gone.
Of course, on TikTok is where you see all good conspiracy theories, and it was some guy who he got the height of his new girlfriend and the height of Kim.
Oh, wow.
And then put him next to him in both the pictures, and he's like way shorter or something. So,
Well, Kim Kardashian's ass. Her gravity's pulled her down, so she's not as tall as she used to be. Her arse and her tits have...
Oh, yeah.
She's quite smart, actually.
She's got a great centre of gravity.
She'd be an awesome footy player. Just never tackled. But we are back with one of our most popular guests.
No. Not one of. The most.
The most?
Yep.
Well,
easily the most downloaded episode we've ever had.
Yeah, right.
Yep. Did like a fair chunk more than anyone.
Sick.
No pressure.
Speaking of RAV4s and camels.
Yeah.
But we'll get started. I haven't heard the full story yet. You've potentially lost sight in your eye. We're not sure yet.
Yeah, the left one's not doing too good.
Yeah.
So
Begin with this.
Yeah. So you got whipped. I mean, I from what I heard, you've never been whipped.
Yeah.
But I think you're physically
Someone
whipped.
achieved what no girlfriend before has been able to. So, yes, I strolled around the country with a bunch of camels for 3.5 years, fell off cliffs, got caught in fires, 0 injury.
No incidents.
I drive around the country 2 months in, bang, left eye gone. So I was made it as far as Canberra, so I was retracing the whole entire trip to write the book. The experience.
Sick. Cool.
And throwing myself back into that mentality of what it was like out on the track, back into 3.5 years ago, John.
Yeah.
And so I got as far as Canberra, and the Australian stock whip cracking champion was at this place that I'd stayed along the way, and he goes, "Do you want to have a crack at the 15-foot bullwhip?" So it's got a 6-foot long pole and a 15-foot cracker on it.
Same.
So I'm and it's very hard to handle. So he said, I'll warn you, you're probably going to hit yourself on the first go.
Yeah.
Everyone hits themselves on the first go. Oh, you're right. So he gives me a bit of a demonstration, film him doing it, hands it over to me. I get the cracker going sensationally. All right. 30 seconds, only miss one. So I hand it back to him and I start to walk away, and he cracks it either side of my head a couple of times. Oh. And as I turn around to see what's kind of happening, he accidentally clips a blackberry bush behind him, and it throws his aim off.
Oh, no.
And that cracker comes forward and nails me directly in the left eye with a little bit of twig as well.
Oh,
so
man.
When a bullwhip cracks, all right, it breaks the sound barrier. So that means it's going over 1,200 kilometres an hour. So I got nailed directly in the eye at 1,200 kilometres an hour with a cracker and a bit of twig. So,
could you see sound?
Oh, mate. I could taste sound.
Oh, my God, bro.
So that was...
Instant pain?
Instant pain. Fuck. But it's almost like it transgressed past the pain and it just got into this numbness. But I knew something was wrong straight up. So it was immediate just cloud over.
Yeah.
And they said, you give it 15 minutes and, she should be right. I'm like, with what I'm feeling, this does not feel right. So... They drove us down to the hospital, and within 3 hours, I was in surgery.
Yeah.
So as I'm going into surgery, and they're getting you to sign the paperwork, to, say this is the possible outcome. So
well, you can't read it.
Yeah, just look at the fine print. So they're like, there's 3 possible outcomes here. We might just be able to stitch it up. All right. There might be so much damage we'll have to remove the lens and also stitch it up. Or if it's been damaged too much, we might have to remove your whole eye. Fuck. So sign off on those 3 possible outcomes and then hope for the best.
What happens if you don't sign? They don't treat you?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I just signed. So, they didn't really come up with the alternative.
Yeah,
it's like otherwise back out to the waiting room.
Yeah.
I went under. It's my first ever surgery. So
wow.
But I was, cracking a few jokes on the way in and having a bit of fun. Yeah. Someone goes, we've never done surgery on a famous person. I was like, no, I was just homeless for a few years with good PR. So, it come out and it was option number 2. So they'd removed the lens.
Yeah.
And so there's currently no lens in there. They put 4 stitches across the cornea. And it'll be about anywhere up to 6 months before they'll be able to remove those stitches and potentially look at, is there enough of a strong foundation to build something back on it?
What would they do, like a fake lens or artificial
fake lens? So the way your eye works, you've got 70% of your focusing capabilities out of your cornea, which is the clear kind of membrane over the front.
Yeah.
And then 30% of your focusing ability, which is mainly for distance and stuff, is that lens. So... when they put the lens back in, then I'll be able to see through the cornea, but it's going to be quite scarred and, from all the stitching and the damage there. So I won't really know what I can see until they maybe can put that lens back in.
Scary. Now, did you just? I know what it's like when I've been hit in the eye and I can't see, or if I looked at the sun and the anxiety attack that comes over me, thinking I've lost vision, is indescribable, and that's momentary. You've already making jokes about it and shit, which is an awesome attitude to have. But were you just full anxiety attack? Fuck, I'm fucked here, or what?
It was weird. I was trying to describe it to someone the other day. On the trek, you'd run through every possible medical or accident kind of scenario, and then you fall off a cliff. So you're like, all right, well, I didn't see that one coming. So you just start to just put yourself in this state of preparedness.
Yeah.
Just ready for something to happen, especially when you're so remote. You're going through some of those western deserts. The closest human being to me is the International Space Station as it flies over your head.
Yeah.
So because there's no one else out there, you get bitten by a snake or something happens, find a tree and curl up.
Yeah.
And so you're just at that state of heightened preparedness.
Yeah.
And I was only 5 or 6 months off the trek when this happened. So I'm still not out of that mode.
Yeah.
And I was almost, because nothing really happened on the trek which caused a major health or, injury kind of concern to us.
Yeah.
When this happened, I was just like, oh, fucking there it is. It was a weird relief. It was just because I was just on the edge waiting for something to happen, and it finally happened. So I can honestly say there's only been about 10 minutes or so in the last 3 and a bit weeks since it happened where I've really gone to that kind of place.
Yeah.
And there might be a delayed fuse or something that kind of comes up at some stage, but I think that was enough to get me through the period before I started to adapt to it and start to realise that the vision for the future and what I want to do over the next few years.
Pun intended.
Yeah. There's still a whole lot that's possible. It's definitely an altered future.
Yeah.
But there's enough on my plate and there's enough in there to kind of sink my teeth into.
My nono lost his eye in a, I don't know if I've ever told this on the pod, when he was, I think, mid-20s. He was working in the forest and cutting trees down, and one of the hooks that picks up the lumber sort of swung round and hooked him in the eye.
Oh,
took his eye out. So he had left eye as well. So he had no vision. So he couldn't drive a car later in life. So how are you going with that? Are you able to do that, or
aside from the autofocus on the camera not recognising your face, which is why I had to go up and just adjust it.
For those listening,
my iPhone's the same. It's like, who are you? Your beard's gone. You got half a face left.
for the face ID.
I was about to say what are the sort of, and you were just alluding to that. Have there been some pretty big inconveniences?
So you got 3 months before you're legally allowed to drive again. So I think that's just going through the adjustment period, and then you're fine for driving, as far as I understand. I haven't really checked into anything else. I just kind of do it until someone says, hey,
has your vision improved in your right eye?
No, but it's still in the heavy lifting.
Yeah,
and it's doing it quite well, but you'd go through periods of a few hours when you just start to get that build up of tension behind it. But it's like, hey, you just need to take a break. It's had to step up to the plate.
Have chicks got better looking?
Depends on which side. At least now I've got an excuse. She came up on the left.
And for those listening, we got what's Samuel L. Jackson's character name? Got that, rocking that sort of version of the eye patch.
From
Avengers.
He's the who's the main fucking?
I was going to say Hawkeye.
Nick Fury. But yeah, so depth perception and stuff. Is that?
Look, I'm nailing the paper basket basketball kind of thing, so I'm still doing all right at that. Yeah. But the other day, I went to pour a glass of coconut water, and I didn't even realise that the glass. It was about 500 mils adjacent.
Yeah, right.
So I think you just got to be a bit more conscious of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
you'll adjust over time as well.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed.
It's,
look, anything I get back, if I get 50% of the vision back, I would have been a year or more without anything. So at least I'll be getting something back potentially. Yeah. So depends on how high risk I take the on the regeneration of the eye.
Yeah.
There will be certain decisions to make to go, all right, you can do this, but there's going to come at this risk that you could lose the whole thing.
That's pretty scary.
What's that initial, because, sorry, I was adjusting the camera before. What's that initial pain
Yeah, he said it was.
Like
intense
it
and
kind of
numbing.
it was really intense, but then it was kind of like immediately like numbed.
Your body just
Like,
shut
'cause
it
was
down.
so intense, yeah.
So I got hip and shouldered in the eye when I was playing footy. I think I was 18 or 19. Went to pick the ball up, and the guy's hip joint fit perfectly right into my eye and depressed it. And the pain was some of the most immense pain I've felt in my life to this day. Like I vomited from it, and like even just moving the eye was like excruciating.
Mate, you take a hit to any of your balls, your eyeballs, you know about it.
Fuck.
But how's this in a strange? So my son comes over from the UK in September.
Yep.
Moving with us, and he's visually impaired in his left eye.
No way.
And I'm like, this is how far I go to try and bond. with
Fuck.
James Bond.
Oh my god. Would it have?
That's reverse genetics.
Yeah.
So his is from birth, so it's an issue behind at the back end of the eye.
Yeah.
And mine's obviously an issue on the front end of the eye.
So between yous.
We got one good.
So sorry, son. Well, I was going to say, was there any concussion or anything from that? Because it's a big knock to your head, you know, like, no?
And after that happens, I was very fucking awake.
The adrenaline.
Yeah.
It's funny, man, because like you have been making good jokes about it. I think that's almost the only way you can deal with it. Otherwise, you get down. Hey, like,
Oh, what's the alternative?
Yeah.
get Devo and
Well, there's
you can't do much now, can you?
There's plenty of shit things about it,
Yeah.
clearly, but there's an immediate appreciation of the remaining one.
Yeah, fucking oath.
Yeah.
It just backs onto, if you're listening to these back to back, we just had Greg Hiron talking about gratitude. And literally the first thing when John was talking is like, fucking making jokes about it and happy that he's got his eye. It's like,
Well,
it's really refreshing.
Yeah, one of the things I kind of sold myself, because you always come up with this mental arithmetic in order to try and get through things, right? So I know that at some stage in the next year or two, there's going to be a situation, a moment or a person or something that comes into my life that is just fucking incredible.
Yeah.
And at that point, I have to remind myself to thank this for happening.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't have had that second moment without this one. That's
right.
So I just got to stop and pause and, you know, really
Well,
acknowledge
stop
that.
and pause and think right now.
Yeah.
We're that incredible person. No, but that's
So, because
true.
it stopped you from going around. What had you planned? Had you planned to do each stop that you went to with the camels to?
Oh, just to go and sit at the points of significance that I wanted to write about, and to throw myself back into that creative space, and really throw myself, because it was a very different person that started the trek to the one that finished. So it was quite hard when I started writing back in Perth to throw myself back to those moments. But as soon as I started to get all the mental kind of triggers from re-driving the trek and hanging out with the people, you know, you're straight back into that mentality. And some of that was quite confronting, because you're going through and you're watching your old Instagram stories, your video diaries and stuff like that, and you're like, fuck, that's the guy that left?
Yeah.
That is not how I feel now. That is not who I am now.
Like a butterfly.
Yeah.
Like going through metamorphosis.
It is so good. That is one cool thing about the Instagram story, the archive. You can go back and have a sort of a look through and that. And we've got that ability with the podcast to go back and listen to our opinions and the way we think about things.
And see the evolution.
It's incredible to just go, fuck, what sort of a dickhead was I then? And again, we'll get that opportunity in another 10 years to go, what fuckheads we were then. But like, you know, well, not fuckheads, but or some people would think we are. But the evolution of a person as they grow and the things they...
Especially when it's journey-based and you've got the before and after. You know, T.S. Elliott said, we shall never cease from exploration, and at the end of all of our exploring will be to return to where we began and see the place for the first time.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it's almost like it wasn't until I came back and started to put myself in similar environments and situations and with similar people again that I didn't really notice how much I had changed until I was in that and experiencing that.
Is T.S. Eliot your pen name?
He spells it wrong. 1L, 1T.
It's all right. We've got our first viral clip for the episode there. A nice quote one. But that is true. Like sometimes you experience something and then you go back and see the same thing, the same people, the same occasion and go, nah, this is not me anymore.
And you also get to see like the before and after picture and the progress that people have made or lack of progress that they've made. Yeah. So cool story. So a lot of people kind of talk up what their vision is and what they're going to achieve. And I got the before and after picture of 4.5 years apart.
Yeah.
But my personal trainer, Shane Smith, nice guy, and he was doing personal training in other people's gyms. And he was like, I've got this dream. I want to have my gym and I want to do this kind of stuff. And you're like, oh yeah, cool. And he's a fairly driven kind of guy, as a lot of people in the fitness industry are. Yeah. And I come back and I say, look, I want to get straight back into my personal training again. He's like, here's the location. And I walk into the purpose-built gym, like 4.5 years, done it, you know.
Sick.
And, I've taken the time to appreciate people like that and like say to him, look, I've got that 4.5 year before and after picture of you, mate, and it looks sensational. Like, well done on actually sticking to it. Yeah. And then on the other hand, you got the same people talking the same game. Yeah. No progress. No change.
Yeah.
Or excuses.
Being removed from the world for what, 3.5 years, like you would have that you would see it. Yeah. You would see the lack of
literally side by side.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Sometimes, it's good though, because sometimes good, sometimes bad. Like I mourn for that when like I hang out with people I used to and it's not the same. I feel sad, but I'm like, oh well, times have changed.
Sometimes you see those people though realize that they have just been talking and they haven't done what they said, and then they'll have an aha moment, or like what we just spoke about with Greg, they'll reach their darkest moment and go, "Fuck,
yeah,
you can be comfortable.
It's got to get worse before it gets better for some people. You know, they have to have that reckoning, that moment of reckoning.
Yeah. What's that? I've heard someone talk about it being too comfortable, and you need to reach a certain level of uncomfort to go, well, fuck, now I do need to make those changes.
Well, that's one of the things I'd get on the trek. People would say, why? You know, and they're expecting, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that camel trek? And they're expecting a health scare or a financial crisis, relationship breakdown. They're expecting some kind of trigger. I had enough people around me experience that trigger. I didn't have to experience it in order to kick me into action. And but I knew that the day of reckoning would come. So I didn't really need that to go out. But it's funny, one of the things that happened over the period of COVID is about halfway through, especially after the lockdowns and stuff, people stopped asking why and they started asking how.
Yeah.
You know, is it that they immediately were on the same page of, I get why you want to escape. I get why you want to go and experiencing something different. Like it's like a whole population just immediately
like
got
a reset.
Yeah.
Is it hard to assimilate, and you sort of touched on this in the last episode, I think, but is it hard to assimilate back into this hustle and bustle? Because you'd only just come back.
Yeah.
And you'd only just sort of tried to, I don't even know if you'd gone back to the office or maybe a couple of days in. And
I was fresh off the boat, actually, when I last came in.
Do you just look at people and go, you just don't know. You don't get it. Like, you don't get life. Or is it hard?
Yeah, because of your perspective switch. Like, you've experienced some pretty full-on moments, like life or death situations, and then you come back into, like, the normal world, and you see someone stressing out or taking issue on
trivial shit.
Yeah, trivial stuff. And, you almost treat it like a competition. That's nothing in comparison to this. Yeah. But the feelings that they're having whilst they're experiencing it may be at the same level that you've had. So,
perspective.
So you can't, it's not a competition. You can't put it next to each other because the feelings might be exactly the same. You've just got to try and bring relevance to the toolkit that you may have developed to try and maybe give them an example or help them through or support them through it. So, I try not to get too ahead of myself with going, mate, that's
fuck all, mate. I fell off a cliff with 3 fucking camels.
Mate, that's an incredible, not analogy, but it's an incredible way to think. That is such a...
It's all environment and perspective. Like, for me, if I fucking break up with a chick, it could be the end of my life, the end of my world.
Yes.
But for you, you'd be like, come on, man, you know someone else is going to come along.
Yeah.
But it might be the equivalent of you, like, if you... Let's say Scotty goes missing for half an hour, you're freaking out. Worse. Those things match up.
The elevation of
for each person. Like, if you're a spoiled little brat and you fucking your Lamborghini breaks down and you're stressing, that could be the same as somebody having the car stolen for someone else. Like, it's all environment and context.
Yeah, 100%.
I would take a life or death scenario and dealing with the stress in that over emotional trauma any day of the week. Bad breakup. I'll avoid it. And it lingers for so long and you hold on to it. All right. You fall off a cliff and you having a beer
Just
with
get back up
the
the cliff.
fires after you.
It's a good story. Yeah. Yeah.
And
100%.
maybe as guys, we're just programmed to deal with those physical and stressful physical
Potentially,
scenarios more so than we are the emotional
For sure.
trauma of a relationship drama.
No, but there's no difference between a man and a woman, Delby.
These days. But
I know, I've found a couple in my travels. A couple of small differences.
but yeah, the thing that was really cool was last time we hung around for maybe like an hour and a half. We basically did another podcast. And we learned a whole different side of you, like a whole nother life that I was just fucking laughing and tripping out at.
The traveling stuff, the adventure stuff,
the Playboy stuff,
Playboy lifestyle.
What was the news article that said that she kept it up her sleeve for a while and it was really funny?
Oh yeah,
something like Playboy something or other.
Yeah, it was funny. So before I'd even begun the trek, but I was right at the beginning. So I've done about a year of training, preparing, get everything ready to go. And I get a call from the West and they say, I would like to do an article about your trek, your camel trek. And I was like, oh, that sounds great.
Yeah.
So they asked me some questions just purely about the camel trek. And I thought, oh, cool. It's going to go out to print. And then call up Mum. Hey, Mum, I'm going to be in Saturday's paper.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, great.
Oh, no.
She calls up her friends. Oh, my son's going to be in the paper. Awesome. A proud mum moment. Anyway, article comes out. Perth Playboy millionaire ditches orgies to hump his way across the desert.
That's such a banger fucking title.
And I'm like, how the hell did they get that? And I think it kind of originated from a party that got a bit out of hand after the Apollo in the city. I wound up back there and I was having some entertaining times with a couple of ladies. And I hadn't really closed the curtains onto the balcony where everything kind of was, all the guests were. And they'd asked about catering, a bit about food, so I'd jumped on Uber Eats, ordered 150 cheeseburgers and gone out in my dressing gown and thrown that out. Turns out the Prince of Haiti was at the party. He had his hand up, grabbed a couple of cheeseburgers. He thought it was great. And that reporter was apparently at that party witnessing this kind of thing. So this is from the, the old John, the pre-Camel Trek John. So she had incorporated that John into the article.
The far more mature John, the far more refined.
The side by side.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
But I think that's something that appealed to people at the start. It was that contrast of, why would you have that kind of lifestyle that some people are kind of really working their ass off to kind of head towards?
The Andrew Tate lifestyle almost.
Why would you walk away from that? Because we're programmed that's what you should really achieve for. The nice car, the girls, the big house and whatever you want. And if he's walked away from it, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Something's wrong with him. Something happened.
Yeah.
He did something.
Yeah.
So that kind of runs rampant for a while. And it took probably a few years into the trek before, like I said, people started to get it and go, all right, no, I get he's just kind of going out doing something different. Yeah.
You just what was it? What was it really? What drove you? Do you think? Do you know? Do you think? Or do you think you just wanted to fucking try something different? Are you just adventurous?
It's like anything. There's like a seed that gets planted and you just can't shake it. So took a trip to Antarctica and this guy had hired out a 120 capacity Russian icebreaker and he put 120 Australian and New Zealand entrepreneurs on it. And I went there thinking it's going to be great for my personal and business development, might get a few clients, good for networking, that kind of thing. And plus it's Antarctica, it's going to be great.
Yeah, sick.
So I go down there and there's some really big heavy hitters. There's a couple of guys that are the head of ASX listed companies with over $1 billion market cap.
Yeah.
And I had access to them, but I was drawn towards this other guy. And I first kind of met him, he's on the back of the boat and he's got there his big kind of grey beard, he's smoking a pipe.
Gandalf.
Full Gandalf. And I walk up to him and say, mate, what are you smoking there? He goes, oh, you want to have a go? So I have a good go. I was like, oh, what's that? And he's like, it's elephant dung. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, nasty habit I picked up in Africa. All right. So this guy, his name's Jeff Wilson, and he had just completed the world record for the fastest solo unsupported crossing of Antarctica.
Yes.
And he did it on a kite surf, dragging a sled, that was shaped like a pink pair of tits.
What the fuck?
And he called it his boob sled.
That's so good.
And he was raising money for the McGrath Foundation.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, tell me about the sled. He's like, oh, I modelled it off my wife's boobs. But actually, it was two of the right, because that's my favourite.
So 2 rights don't make a wrong.
And this guy's just a vet from the Gold Coast.
Wow.
Right? And he,
Like a veterinarian?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And he's, you just imagine him like cool running style, dragging tyres down the beach, training and preparing for this thing. And he's just come out of nowhere onto the Antarctic Explorer, the Polar Explorer scene.
Yeah.
And just smashed this world record.
On his own.
On his own.
Fuck. Had he ever done any like training or ice stuff like that before?
He engaged a series of mentors from around the world that were like the best.
Yeah.
Right. Contacted them out of the blue and just said, I'm Jeff from Australia. I need to learn how to navigate a crevice, ice crevice field, and I need to learn about weather down there. I need to learn about this. And he just engaged over a period of a couple of years, these series of experts, and just uplinked and skilled himself up to just hit it.
That's so scary. I was listening to I'm listening to Prince Harry's audiobook on Audible, and he did that, but in the Arctic he went with a bunch of retired vets that had been injured in war, and he reckons it was like the coldest experience of his life. He got frost nip on his dick, frostbitten dick. He talks about that. So I was like, if you've never done that before and you're going on your own, did he have any damage or like incidents or lose a dick?
On the first, he's gone down there again and set the longest crossing record and first person to summit the highest peak solo unsupported. So
wow,
he did that at the age of 50, just before COVID.
That's crazy.
So
I would love to know if there's any like aliens or stuff.
Well, he's coming on August 4th, so I'm very excited about that.
Yeah,
so
I want to know if there's any like
aliens
or hidden bases, or have you heard any weird shit?
Mate,
I'll save that for him.
Yeah, I literally cannot wait for that episode. Like, and I love you talking about it, but I'm literally erect already.
I'm not going to be here, so give us a little teaser. Give us a little teaser.
He got frostbite in his stomach. So
wow.
So he's getting dragged along by this kite, right? So he's got this harness kind of set up, and it had lifted his kind of snow suit slightly up and exposed a bit. And so then he gets frostbite and it starts to get the gangrene. But because he's a vet, he's capable enough. He was just cutting off.
Are you kidding?
So he could keep going without the with the unsupported.
Wow, every fat chick's booking trips to Antarctica.
Oh my god!
Just doing liposuctions on the cheap.
Yeah.
Holy fuck!
Yeah, it just starts hacking it.
So that means Santa Claus isn't real because his belly would be fucking gone.
Yeah.
But when we talk about like the seed getting planted, so I'm captivated, as you guys would be. I'm captivated by his stories, right? Yeah. And so when I leave the Antarctica trip, I'm going, all right, well, I had the opportunity to, I want to be one of these big shots in business, and I had the opportunity to learn off the people who are in that direction.
Yeah.
I ignored that. And I spent most of my time with this guy.
Yeah.
Why is that? I really need to start looking at why that is.
Yeah.
Because maybe I'm not heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
So that's probably like the first seed that gets planted. And it's like once you start down that path, it was about 2.5, 3 years later that I walked away.
Yeah.
And started doing the camel trek.
Almost
so
the inception of the first thing, little adventure. Was he a pretty cool guy then? You must have got along really well.
Yeah, really cool guy. Yeah. And I can honestly say from before that moment, every single part of my body, every single part of my mindset was about being the biggest and best business person I possibly could.
Yeah. And we were talking with Greg before, like, is there a why? What was the driving motivation? Why did you want to be the biggest and best? Was it to have bigger parties, get more chicks, make more money? Or what was the driving thing with that?
Yeah, I think you're just on autopilot. Right?
Yeah.
And it's like I'm running everything through this like competitive and comparative kind of mindset. So I'm looking around at the people. I'm like, I want to live like that.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Yeah.
And the thing about that competitive and comparative kind of mindset is no matter how far up the food chain you get, there's always someone just far ahead. You buy that $1 million boat and you pen it next to a $2 million boat. And immediately you're not good enough.
Yeah.
So that was enough to feed the beast and keep me going.
Yeah.
On there, just constantly trying to get up another rung.
Yeah.
What's the
Then you got the Saudis that just.
I think that's what they call it, like blind ambition.
Yeah.
You know,
so
like
many eye puns.
You got the ambition.
Yeah.
What's
Fine ambition,
what's
yeah.
that movie? Is it Into the Wild?
Yes.
When he just
Goes
pack-
on. He
he dies.
right?
I know
He
that's
didn't
a
figure-
tragic.
He didn't
ending.
figure out how
He
to.
ate the wrong berries, eh?
Yeah.
Ate the wrong berries. But like that, still that sense of adventure of just like I need to fucking get out of this. This is not like I get that feeling sometimes.
I get there's different ways though, right? Like,
Of course.
So maybe John's done it because I reckon. Well, the listeners don't actually know. Like you and I didn't know till after we had the mad chats. Like, from memory, you were part owners of a nightclub. You had like fucking any chick you want. You got like.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, you live in the Hugh Hefner lifestyle, from what I explained, what I understand. Like it was pretty good.
It was an enjoyable life.
Yeah.
I didn't leave because I disliked it.
Yeah.
But look, I was happy with that being a chapter in the book, just not the whole story.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to be that 65-year-old guy pulling up to the club still trying to hook up with some 20-something-year-old girl. Or the others.
So like you've almost got like you're living the dream. Like that's something that like that'd be wicked. But for you, the escape was you've already almost reached that social status as high as you could possibly get, except compared to the guys on the Antarctica boat, maybe.
I wouldn't say that. I'd say I was just on. That was the path I was on.
Yeah.
You know, like there was a lot ahead of me. Definitely a lot ahead of me. But I had enough
on the way.
To stake my claim and.
Yeah.
And look, I left, like I said, when I loved it. I love my job, I love my company, love all the people in there, which is great because now that I'm back, it's like, coming back to an old mate. So
that's great.
And you are to a point still in that corporate world to a point as well, obviously. So it's still not like
It's
you've
something
just
you
thrown
enjoy.
it. Yeah, and it's not, you haven't thrown it away, but you've, I guess, now understood that that's not everything. There's other things to chase. There's experience, and
100%.
life experience.
But like,
which is,
so the Into the Wild comparison was like, for John, like his escape was walking across Australia for 3.5 years with camels, whereas for someone like us, it might be like
this,
or like I'm going to go play footy for 2 hours.
Oh, everyone's got their camel trek.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their thing. Because unless you're really doggedly determined and hyper focused, 45 years of our career, it'd be very hard to sit in that one lane and say this is me and this is all I do.
I was actually having that thought. I think it was yesterday. Like, why? Like, at what point is what we're doing here, for example? When is that enough? When is that like, oh, do we need $1 million contract? Do we need $100,000 a year? Do we need $50,000 a year? Or are we doing it right now?
Yeah.
Like, we're already there.
Yeah.
I went to the sauna yesterday. I went to the gym the day before. I got to pick up my daughter from school. Like, I'm there. I'm already doing it.
That's the thing, man.
I know I want the extra money or the contract specifically so I can just get rid of everything else and then go, yeah, this is it. But I already am doing it.
You were in 100% control to determine the factors of what success is. All right? So whether you say you're a successful failure is completely up to you. You get to determine the benchmarks which you need to hit in order to have it.
Yeah.
But we have a nature, I think, to self-improve, to put those benchmarks just beyond where we are, which I think is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
And of course, that doesn't mean we say that there's not drives and there's not goals and ambitions.
Yeah.
But, I realized yesterday we're doing it. We're doing 2 pods today. I think we're potentially doing another 2 pods on the weekend. So like we're doing 4 podcasts in a week.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck? Like we're doing something we've really wanted to do for a long time. Yeah. Whereas I think 2 years ago we were struggling to get a time to be able to do one.
Yeah.
Well, still, it would be nice to be paid for it.
And
this is all passion project.
Yeah, and that's exactly what my point is. Like, that's a great positive. That's a great thing. Like, if we can get financial reward for it, and then it becomes
we're doing
our
it anyway.
income. Yeah, we're doing it anyway. We're already doing it.
Yeah.
So that's the positive out of it.
Yeah, trying to combine the passion and the purpose and get the financial kind of reward from it. Coming back from the camel trekker, like I said, it's not the same guy that's come back. So how does that intertwine with now my corporate life?
Yeah.
So we've always participated in kind of community programs, and we were the first carbon neutral insurance broker in Australia back in 2016, back before it was cool.
Yeah.
Now it's a conspiracy.
So now we want to ingrain those core elements of sustainability, because after you've put foot across every single state and territory in Australia and you've been out there, you have a renowned connection and appreciation for it. So
we don't want to
that's
fuck it up.
definitely going to filter through into every single practice we have at the core of who we are as a business. So we're even rebranding the company now to really hit that home. We've got a great event coming up at the Point Rooftop Bar. Beginning of August to do that rebranding. That's why Jeff's coming over, and he's going to launch a WA launch of the next really cool project that he's got.
Sick.
He's going to be the first person to hit the South Pole and the North Pole in like one expedition.
Wow.
Crazy.
Wow.
Is that Project Zero?
Project Zero? Yeah.
Wow.
So he's going to start at one. Where do you start? Because to get to one, you got to start
Australia, of course.
Yeah.
So he's got a 30-foot, 30-ton steel yacht.
30 ton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which for a 30-foot yacht, that's a whole lot. So it can take on a bit of ice.
Yeah. From Rockingham, is it?
Yeah, docking at Geraldton with a special cargo. So, so I won't spoil it too much, but he's basically taken it down to Antarctica, and this one he's taking his son as well. His son's going to join him on the trip, and a couple of other people down to Antarctica, and then up to the North Pole.
I've heard it's extremely difficult to get a permission to go down there.
Oh yeah, especially like on his one where he did the longest journey, because there's like every single section's got a different country that kind of controls it.
Yeah.
And one of the things you have to do when you're down there is you have to prepay for your rescue, regardless of whether you use it or not, and have all of the right countries approving based on where an incident could happen.
Yeah.
So you, when you're a nobody, no name, never done a polar kind of expedition, and you go into the Russian government, it's like, hey, Putin, got a favour to ask. They're like, who the fuck is this guy?
We will ask the questions.
Oh.
Yeah, fuck.
I mean, it's
actually, how much, it's pretty chunk, it's a big chunk, hey, the expense to get.
It's a fair bit of fundraising. But I mean, Jeff is as much as he does a bit of fundraising that to get these things to happen. Yeah, he's a successful entrepreneur in his own right. He owns 10 odd veterinary clinics.
Yeah, sick. And is it non-refundable, or do they give it back if you don't get rescued?
You'll have to ask Jeff, but there's a fair chunk of it that's non-refundable.
It's just taken.
Yeah,
that builds into the conspiracy.
Yeah,
they're building something down there with the money.
Yeah, with everyone who doesn't get rescued.
Yeah, yeah, no shit.
Even I was watching just the other night, and I rewatched it. I don't know why I rewatched it. I think it was whatever. 14 Peaks. Have you seen that?
Yeah, that's pretty cool, right?
Have you seen that?
No.
He, I can't remember the timeline, but he tries to climb the 14 highest peaks, almost the hardest peaks in Nepal, including
in China,
and in that sort of area, and he had to do it in a record amount of time. And it was someone had done all 14 peaks over about a year and a half or something like that, and that was the record. And he's like, I'm going to do it in 3 months.
Yeah.
And he would go up, and so you'd take 4 days to climb like K2 or something normally if you're
he did one of them like hungover.
Yeah.
just powered it.
He was in a trough doing a peak.
Yeah, he was hungover and did it in 24 hours when you're supposed to do it in 4 days.
Yeah.
So you're supposed to go to camp 1, sleep, acclimatise.
Maybe we just found the cure to hangover. Just altitude. It just squeezes it out of you.
But his the expense and trying to get sponsors, and they're like, this isn't. This is not. There's no monetary, there's no advantage to them giving any money.
Yeah, he went through so much, trying to sell that, and people are calling him nuts, and he's trying to raise the money to do it, and he's putting his house up for grabs. And,
wow.
Jeff goes through the same thing, and it's, even when I was starting the preparations for the camel trek, trying to get camels and that, you're going out there, no one wants to support you, just some bloke from the city. So no one was really engaged with it until I'd been living out in a tent and living out in my swag for 8 months, and then people start to, maybe this guy's serious.
Yeah.
And you just get all these roadblocks kind of thrown up, and especially with the solo kind of expeditions, that there's no support group around, and you're sitting a lot of time in your own head, and it's like the universe consistently asks you, how much do you want this?
Yeah.
And even once you start the trek and something happens, how much do you want this?
Yeah.
The week before I started walking on my trek, I'd put in place a CEO to run my company.
Yeah.
And he nearly tanked the whole thing. So I nearly lost my whole entire company because in 10 months, he spent more on recruitment than I spent in 10 years.
Wow.
Right? And it was a mass exodus of people. I was nearly about to lose my key management team that had been there for nearly 10 years.
Yeah.
So I had to fly back to Perth, get rid of him, install a new management team, come back, and 2 days later start walking.
And hope for the best.
And hope for the best. So I didn't know what kind of company I was going to come back to. Just very lucky that those long-serving employees, the team members, they took it and they ran with it.
Yeah, that's great.
You know, they grew it over the next 3 years. They really kind of saved it. Without them, I wouldn't have been able to have.
Did you incentivize them, or were you just like, guys, I trust you, I'll back you in, I don't need... Was there a new bloke that you had come in? Was he a new fella, or you had promoted him up from the ranks?
Yeah, promoted him up from the ranks. He was also a friend.
Right.
You know, some people, as soon as you put them into a different dynamic, they kind of change. You know, and they're just not meant to be in that kind of role. And and I was pretty dark on that for a little while, but.
So as a business decision for any business owners listening, would you just say trust the people that you've worked with for so long, or what was the lesson that you learned from that? Because that's really interesting to me, because I struggle. I'm like a one-man show. Everything I do, my celibacy, comedy, but if I have to have someone host a quiz or whatever, if it's not me,
you get nervous.
I get really nervous, and I would love to give off more responsibility or like delegate.
Yep.
So how did you find that process? Because from a business perspective, I find it really interesting.
It's a lot to expect one person who's not an owner to take on what you take on as the owner and founder of the business.
Because I don't care.
It's a lot to expect
Yeah.
to step into those kind of shoes. And they're probably never going to put in what you put in, which is... And you shouldn't expect them to. Like what you do to grow this podcast, a business, whatever it is, you go above and beyond. And if you break it down to an hourly rate, it's not great.
What would your hourly rate would be negative like $1,000 an hour?
So it comes back to me in love, Delby.
So it's very hard to expect. So having a three-way management team where you're splitting the responsibilities. One of the things I did in that 48 hours to set that management team up, I put on a whiteboard every single element that was involved with running and managing that company.
Yeah.
And then one by one, someone would volunteer and say, yep, I'll take on that as a part of my responsibility. But you'd also have the buy-in from the other two to respect the authority of that person on that particular task.
Yeah.
All right. And if one person was down, we had one of the girls had a kid went on maternity leave. Yeah. There's two in there to step in and cover her, and so that pressure kind of comes off, and that's why I think they were able to work together so well. So, replacing yourself with a few people, I think is not necessarily as their full-time kind of capacity. They can be doing other things within the business, but just to spread that. Not necessarily the workload,
stress,
but that stress load and that
even
responsibility.
Even to expect an employee to care about your company as much as you do is just, it doesn't matter how much you pay them. It's not theirs. They're just doing it for money.
Yeah.
So like understanding that they're not going to have the output that you want to get what or you feel like you would be achieving is you have to deal with that because it's not theirs. It's not. It's and that's one thing. Again, you just brought that up with your quizzes and stuff like that. It's the same with me with putting movies. And I had a kid doing some edits for me, and I wanted him to do it quicker or better.
Yep.
And realizing, well, he's just trying to learn, and he's doesn't care about it as much as me. He's like, I'm trying to get. I need to get this job done, this job done, this job done, this job done, all quality. I have to let go of that quality control and go, no, I got to develop this guy. And
I was so lucky that they cared.
Yeah.
Like I was very, very lucky.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a long-term kind of connection we've had. But they also had the advantage, like the boss isn't showing up or watching what you do for 3.5 years. So they've got the freedom to make an error. And I'm not watching and criticising the error.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And then self-correct and learn. So
do you find that actually helped them with your direction now as as stepping back into the role? Do you just not watch them, not criticise, or?
Oh, it's much easier to be on the sidelines more so than when I left.
Yeah.
But, I've still got to hold myself back occasionally.
Yeah.
But they for 12 months they got to watch someone shit the bed. So they're like, I don't know if I can do it, but I can do better than that. So it took the pressure off a bit.
Yeah.
One of the girls, Rachel, she's been my right hand kind of girl for 12 years now. And she just puts her hand on my shoulder as I'm leaving and goes, "We promise it won't be worse when you get back." Set the bar nice and low. And
did they all give themselves nice pay rises when you're away as well? They restructure the finances.
One of them did.
Yeah.
I literally said in the last couple of pay reviews, I said, "Oh yeah, just whatever you feel is appropriate, and don't make me regret it.
Don't take the piss." Yeah.
And I come back and looking through everything, I was like,
Oh.
You're doing pretty well for yourself, are you?
Yeah, but like she backed it up.
Yeah.
So you that's a nice segue on to what you've got started, what we were talking about before, the competition between each other. And people that don't even know, we haven't really mentioned what your company was.
Insurance broking company. So I started it back in 2008.
Yeah.
So just a solo one-man band when I first kicked it off.
Yeah.
And I'd only been in the industry for about 18 months or so. But I originally had working in sales, various kind of sales jobs, and my father was in insurance broking, and he was always trying to get us across. I was like, no, I'm going to go out and do my own thing.
Yeah.
And then the appeal was, he was like, in sales, you're only as good as your last week. Whatever you sell last week, your commissions kind of comes through from that. He's like, mate, if you sell to someone and do a good job and you're a good bloke in insurance, they come back the next year and buy the same thing. So I went in there. That was the kind of lure in. And after about 18 months or so of working with the old man, he had a couple of other business partners, didn't kind of get along too well with them. And I sold a fair bit in this year. And they said, we'll give you a $1,500 bonus for doing over 100 grand worth of additional sales. And I was like,
1.5%.
Yeah.
Fuck it. I'll just head across the road and,
do it myself.
Yeah. So that's kind of how it all kicked off. And at the start, I didn't really know anyone in business. And I wrote a list of any of the business owners that I knew, and it was 5 people long, and that was a stretch.
Yeah.
So I just didn't care what I was selling at the start, if you wanted your home, your car, whatever, and I just built up
just any insurance.
anything at all, and just started going out to any event, anything I could, and just trying to get myself out there.
Yeah, right.
And
hustler.
Just slowly kind of built, and I was just prepared to put in more hours than a lot of other people. So
did you have a specialty in the end of something, or was it just you would insure anything?
Yeah, so we ended up branching out to
Cameron branching.
We ended up branching out to focus on a lot of tradies and subcontractors and take that process online. Yeah. So we looked at about 1.8 million subcontractors around Australia. I'm like, that's a pretty sizable kind of chunk of market. Yeah. And we were just one of the quickest, cheapest, and easiest to buy it online. So that kind of skyrocketed. And
that's awesome.
And then we got our more traditional kind of broking, which anything from your mums and dads' businesses through to your corporates, mining companies, whatever.
That's cool. I mean, the thing I was struggled with was insurance for what I do, which is like, for some reason we need public liability and something else for performing. So if we set up a stage and someone falls over it, or if we fall over at a venue. So I think Lucky Duck.
If you get hit in the eye with a fucking whip.
There's always little niches that you get into. But now you've created a company that's having a fundraising competition.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so obviously, like I said, after the trek, we kind of, I really want to ingrain sustainability in every single aspect of what we do as a company. So right from the clients that we focus on, anything in renewable energy and not-for-profits. And we've been working with a couple of not-for-profits, one in particular, One Heart Foundation. So they set up sustainable communities over in Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda. Amazing guy started this, Dean Landy. And
is he an ex-Olympian?
No. He's
Peter Landy or something?
No, I think Peter Landy.
Okay, yeah.
Now, this guy's an architect and town planner from over in Melbourne.
Cool.
And so he knows how to set up and establish a community.
Yeah.
But he has these as all like self-funding. So you have 100 orphan and abandoned kids, and they kind of get looked after, and they got all their schooling, but they create the level of schooling so high that anyone with a bit of money in the area wants to send their kids there.
Yeah, right.
So they get another 300 to 400 students that pay the way for the other 100.
That's pretty smart.
And then they've got farming, agriculture, they've got bakeries, skills training centres, all this kind of stuff in there that help generate income to support the whole program.
Yeah.
So based off the success of the one that they had in soy in Kenya, they've now taken these to Uganda and Tanzania.
Yeah.
So they do this, a couple of cool experiences. One's the Run from Poverty, which is a marathon that they do. You raise up to $10,000 and then you pay to kind of go over there, and you get to run a marathon at high altitude in Kenya.
I'd get a sub in and he'd do it in an hour. And
Well, I've only ever done 2 marathons, both over there.
Yeah.
First one I did a bit of training for.
Yeah.
Because when Dean first approached us and said, would you like to do this? I was like, mate, I'll raise you some money, but I'm not doing a marathon. I was 124 kilos.
Fucking
and
hell.
I'm like, mate,
Jesus.
I'm not going anywhere near it.
Yep.
That was in January.
Yeah.
And then the marathon's in July. So I call him up in May and I'm like, mate, I haven't been drinking since then. I've dropped 30 kilos.
Wow.
I'm keen to take it for a run. Let's do it. So I ran my first marathon, and then I was a bit cheeky second year. I was 0 training. Didn't do anything. I was like, I've done one.
Yeah.
How hard can it be? So I'll train once I start going overseas.
Sounds like Branchy.
Yeah.
Just leave it till
To
later.
leave last minute, yeah.
And so I went to Hamburg in Germany to a concert, had a bit of fun there. Then I went to Seychelles, thinking I'll do some training in Seychelles, but like I was jogging down the beach, and then some local just ran straight past. I was like, what's the point? Mojitos for another week. And then rocked up with 0 training on the start line of this marathon after a fairly heavy night on the Terps.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, struggled through that one, got through that. Now they've got this Trek from Poverty. So to support their work in Tanzania, you go over, you check out some of the work they're doing in Tanzania, then you do a trek up Mount Kilimanjaro. Trek to the top, come down, and then head out to the Serengeti for a safari. So that's got a 15 grand fundraising target.
Yeah.
I reckon one of you boys got to sign up for this year.
No, well, it's quite serendipitous because all the listeners that may have heard us say that me and Stevie want to do the Mount Kilimanjaro as our next challenge. So I think we might do that.
Could be an alignment there. And then podcast from the top of Mount Kilimanjaro.
That'd be great.
Walking it. Come, Delby. As a trek.
Yeah.
Oh, but is that when you can't?
I can't this October, but next October.
I can't this October.
It depends on...
I've got...
Not this October, next
October.
October I'll do
We'll
it.
lock the dates in because I think I've only booked one wedding for October at the moment.
He can be our Sherpa.
Sherpa.
I'll do it. Like,
You can be our Sherpa up the mountain of gayness.
Yeah.
Was that Zach and Mary make a porno?
I'd be keen.
Yeah.
See, trekking a mountain to me is more appealing than running 100 kilometres.
Yeah,
you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Because it's rewarding.
shit
You
to
get to the
see,
top, beautiful
like,
view. It's challenging, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
that was the one we wanted to do. So that's quite serendipitous. I've been using that word quite a lot lately.
Serengeti-dipitous.
But it sounds incredible as well.
I never got the point of marathons.
Yeah.
Like,
So you just did
especially when you finish it, especially when you see like the finish line is also the start line.
Yeah, it's
You know,
coming
all
back to
this
where
for
you're going
nothing.
back.
These
Yeah.
people who do them for fun and are fucking... I love people who try and do these challenging things because I've obviously done 2 ultras and all that. But people who do them for fun are fucking psychotic.
Yeah.
No, they're not psychotic, but there's fucking something wrong. Like I do them to raise money. I do them for a cause or to challenge myself.
There's got to be something like at that hard moment. There's got to be like
serotonin,
something that keeps you going.
Yeah.
You know, that's going like, it's for the kids. Or
Yeah.
something like this.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, if the runner's high is legit, then that's probably what they do. they get like a high from it. I've never had
There
a
would
run
be
as
some
high
people
yet.
who run competitively, I guess, as well.
But so
Couple
what
of
are you running? You're running a competition because are you going to do it regardless? Or
Yeah, so what we'll do with the staff, and I haven't actually announced it to them, so we'll,
Won't clip it up.
Hey, guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a annual kind of fundraising target in them that they've got to hit, or that they're in competition with each other up until about a month before the trek. Whoever gets the highest amount out of the fundraising gets all expenses paid, trip over to do the experience
Through the insurance
through the insurance broking company.
yeah.
And then not only that, you get the 15 days off your annual leave, so you don't need annual leave for it.
Oh, you just
Because there's going to be some people that have no interest in trekking up Mount Kilimanjaro, and they're probably the kind of people that would really like 15 days off. So you can team up with someone else if you want and split it. You know, someone can take the experience, someone can take the 15 days off.
And you've got the insurance covered.
Yeah.
Do you insure them for the trip?
Like I said, I'm a bit more onto it these days. So I'm very lucky. Like I've got travel insurance that covers me for the eye.
Nice.
I've got my own income protection and TPD cover.
Sick.
And then obviously there's the public liability for the place where it happened as well. So
Oh, that's actually interesting. With your eye, would you have insured yourself so you looked after? Or, because there's all those tricky loopholes with your fucking super and all that just fuck you over.
Yeah.
Well, I looked at a disability in cover from my GSB, and it's like a one-time payment of like $100,000 or something. If you're disabled for life, that's fuck all.
Like it's funny. I'd always look through like the policy coverage and the amounts in there, and you're like, oh, it's $200,000 for 3 fingers.
Yeah.
You know, it's
just
and
the
you
trade-off.
said-
Yeah.
And I kind of look at it. It's not until you get like you lose an eye that you're like, fucking $250,000.
Yeah.
It's an eyeball.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I don't but then you look at because the amount that you have to pay to increase your coverage, it's like, well, it seems like extortionary, but
Yeah, because we only do the general side of things, so I've got a basic understanding of the the life side, but it's not my forte. So it's not until you get hit in the eye that you kind of really go, oh, now I've got to look through and have a look at it.
So each person has to come up with their own fundraising idea.
Yeah. So you just pretty much leave the creative juices flow to whatever they want to do. And then we'll probably just run some support for them. So if they need some advice or...
Can you choose your own charity that you want to fundraise for?
No, it's got to go towards
to go
the
to
One
the
Heart
track
Foundation.
first.
Yeah.
All right.
That's pretty cool.
Sorry, stitching time. But yes, you were talking about it before, and that's obviously fucking awesome. But when you've had your accident, you were traveling around trying to see these points.
Yeah.
In which, how far into the trek did you get, and how much did you see? Because it must have brought back some stories, potentially ones that you didn't tell on the podcast as well, that you've sort of remembered.
Yeah, so it was about 2,000 Ks into the 12,500 Ks. But a lot of the stuff down the East Coast, which was the first 5,000 or 6,000 Ks of the trek, that's where a lot of the action happened. Once you start to get out to Central Australia, there's big gaps of Holland. So I reckon I was about 1/3 of the way kind of through what I was writing about.
And did it like trigger certain like memories of moments where you go, fuck, I'd
completely blanked on that one.
Yeah.
There was plenty of that, and also from catching up with the people that you met along the way.
Yeah.
So they'd trigger a few like, do you remember this kind of thing happening here? And it was kind of nice. Like you're going around, you're re-meeting a lot of the people you met along the way, and when you're going through and someone puts up their house or their paddock or opens up their doors to you, you kind of leave and you wonder if they thought that was just a relationship of convenience. I just needed a paddock. And so, when you come back through intentionally and you're taking your time to go and stop in and catch up with the people again, you're kind of locking in these lifelong friendships where you feel you could just come back any time after that. And they're like, all right, now you've come out of your way just to come back and see us.
Yeah.
So that was probably one of the most beautiful things that I was experiencing on that re-driving at the trek.
Yeah. I guess when it comes to like those connections that you build, you would have that, sorry, Delby, you would have that initial thought that, he is... he needs places to stay, but the fact that you'd go out of your way and do that sort of stuff, and I always find that sometimes like these relationships you build just in life, and you feel like it is, they needed a job or they needed this work done, or, you were helping them, you were a coach in football or whatever the fuck it was. I'm naming things that are localized to me. But, and then they message you, 2 or 3 years later and just say, how you going? Want to catch up for a beer? Then you realize, no, they weren't just using you. They were. And it does create we're going back to connection, what we were talking about with Greg High in the last episode. It's great to form those connections, and I think it's good.
And especially in the corporate world, before I left, things start to feel very transactional. So, it's a very transactional relationship. Why are you with me because of the network, or am I just with you because you're a potential client? And so you start to feel viewed, and you start to view things quite transactionally. Yeah. So you'd have a few friendships that would fall out of that, but that's really feeling like that's what the to and fro is. So I think now coming back as well, I'm very much more connected again, being relationship based.
Yeah. I think there's a fear with that as well. Like when it comes to business, you almost don't want to become too friendly, because if you need to do something that's going to fuck them over or like put them at a disadvantage, or if you've found something that benefits yourself more and you need to move away, having that strong friendship gets in the way of business as well.
No, I've
gone the other way.
No, I've always been pretty connected with that. So it'd take a lot for me to make the business decision over the friendship decision. Yeah. And that's probably one of the things that's hindered me to some degree. Because
but not in a bad way. Like it may be financially, but fuck. Yeah, it's the connections.
Yeah, I've experienced it and definitely seen it firsthand of people that are very quick to make that decision of, sorry mate, it's just business.
Well, you can even see, take it to sporting, coaches. Certain coaches have different tactics. Some coaches don't want to be a friend, they want to be the boss.
Yeah.
But then some coaches, and it's becoming far more common, this one, is to create a relationship with the players, create bond, create like, you trust me to make this right decision, I trust you to make that right decision. So I think there's pros and cons, because the militant, like, I'm boss, I don't want to be your friend, I'm here to make decisions and, you follow what I say. That has merit, but eventually it wears thin, and they want to. And you see it with like someone like a Ross Lyon is a perfect example of that in the AFL. He's a very militant, like, I'm the boss, you do exactly what I'm saying, and it works because the structure works, and maybe financially in a business model that works. But long term, they fuck off. They don't care about you as much, and they're not going to push as much as they possibly could. Same with in business. You just said you left for a year because you had that connection with them. Potentially, maybe it is a risk, but at the same time, they cared a lot more to be able to put in the extra effort when needed and when required.
And I found that before I left, I had a habit of wearing a couple of different hats. So you've got the business. And so you've got your, this is me in the office, this is the work, John, this is me in front of a client, this is me out partying, this is me with my friends or family. So you've got a couple of these different personas that you think, I'm trying to bring the best version of me to that particular pursuit that I have at the time. So one of the challenges that I set myself when I first started preparing for the track was to try and bring it all under one roof.
Yeah, cool.
So I did a couple of blogs and that are still out there, which were talking about when just before I started my business, I had a suicide attempt, and so just put that out on the table. You know, as a CEO, you can't show signs of weakness. You can't, show vulnerability, and I never really felt comfortable sharing that story. And then I put it out there, and it was a little bit easier. I'm over East, so I can just blog it and just send it back over West and put it out there for all to see. Put up any issues that I was concerned about or struggled with, and some stories about who I was, to kind of bring all of those me's under the one roof. Yeah. And there was an immediate kind of sense of relief. Yeah, it's kind of like, now it doesn't matter who I'm in front of, right? Yeah. You just get me. Yeah. All right. And it's, you do slightly kind of sandpaper off some edges if you're in front of a client and stuff like that, but the genuine you kind of shows through. Yeah. So whether I'm now back in the CEO role, whether I'm on this podcast or whatever it is, you just get the one kind of guy, and it's so much more relaxing. I'm not having to worry about what I said to who. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things when you start, speaking publicly or doing this kind of thing, it's very hard to maintain any kind of lie.
Yeah. Being authentic is the most important thing.
Yeah.
I think, in my industry, which is just stand up and I'm going to be who I am, like you said.
Yeah,
be
because they're hiring
yourself.
you.
People believe, like, you're believable. You're not like a fucking character here, and then if I MC a wedding or get on the pod, I'm essentially who I am there. So that's really, it's refreshing to hear. And I'd believe, like, being so vulnerable with what you did, almost like a cathartic experience by just going, here's my vulnerabilities. And then you're not holding on to them anymore, going, fuck, are they going to find out that I'm weak or that I've done this? You can just go, fuck, it's right here. This is me. It's done.
And it was a lot easier being on the other side of Australia. You know, like, so
like a wall.
I'm
almost.
posting it online, but then I'm out in a tent in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So I'm not having to deal with the immediate repercussion of the of the opening up or of the admissions or whatever it was.
Yeah, because Gary V's big on that, big on the being your authentic self, because eventually they're going to find out. And he's one of those people who he was told, oh, we can put you on at this keynote and this keynote and make more money if you stop swearing. And he's like, that's not me. I swear. That's who I am. Sorry. And he leaned in, and people actually identified with that, and they sort of started to resonate with what I meant, with what he was saying, because he was real, he was authentic, he was himself. And some people think he's a fucking cockhead, but some people really resonate with that. And when you niche down on who you are, you don't have to pretend to be anything else. And then they follow you.
Girls, live your truth.
But I suppose that's the journey past being the people pleaser, because a lot of us sitting there in that people pleaser phase where we're, when we're toning down ourselves or slightly modifying ourselves, it's the version that we think that person kind of wants. And you do that unsuccessfully a few times, like you've really tried and you had the good attempt.
This is me.
And he still thinks you're a cunt. You're just like, oh, well, I may as well just lean into who I am, because I'm not going to get anywhere on anyway,
Fuck, I hate that, actually.
I hate that as well, man. Oh, it's so annoying. It's like, man, I've tried this, I've tried that. Please think I'm cool. I'm just like, fuck it, man. That comes with maturity as well, and a little bit of like support and emotional resilience. I'm still a people pleaser, but nowhere near like what I used to be. Like almost like the Josh Thomas show, Please Like Me. You're like, oh, fuck it, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm trying to fucking, and then eventually you just got to go.
That's why I don't even try and be cool anymore.
You succeeded.
I don't try to be, like, I'm not. I'm a fucking idiot. Like, I like being the idiot. And I don't know if that makes me cool for not caring, but, like, that's what I want to be. I want to be
a nerd. I'm a secret nerd, man. I like nerding out. Like, I like Marvel. I like fucking...
We're trying to make a podcast. Like, we've been, we're leaning into some of the most... like, not nerdy, but it's just like, oh, you think you can do that, sort of, do you? It's not what a cool guy does. A cool guy sits at the back of a bar having beers and, stereotypically is the one that everyone wants to chat to. But I don't care.
A playboy millionaire having orgies, humping his way.
But I mean, you think it's hard to step into someone else's shoes when you're trying to be someone else. I think it's fucking harder to step into your own and try and be yourself. Like, there's nowhere to hide then. It's you. So... It's like I had this moments in the last year of the trek where there's no internet, there's nothing, you're not seeing another person. So you go through like a 5-6 week period where you're not scrolling through the gram. And you stop seeing things through this, like I mentioned before, that competitive and comparative kind of landscape. And it's almost like for the first time you're having genuine thoughts and you're being able to have discussions with yourself that aren't run through that filter of... what am I in comparison to, or what am I not in comparison to what I'm saying? And so it's almost like you're starting to be able to figure out what your own actual intentions and goals are for the first time, not through that competitive lens.
It's pretty confronting as well, hey? Sometimes you think you're one thing and you're not. Or sometimes it's really nice because you're like, oh, I always thought I valued this, but really, I care more about people or whatever it is.
And it's okay though, like, to have the fun. Like, you've lived a fun life as well. You've travelled the world, done fucking stupid things, but that's fun. And I'm sure you like telling the stories. Like, you told us some of the stories after the podcast, some of your travel stories, and you've seen the world from different perspectives. That must open up your eyes as well. Like, but not like just opening up your eyes. You got to look back on that and laugh and go, I've still had fun. It's not like an immature version of myself. It's a younger guy who was trying to experience life.
And I think now as well, like having spent so many years in trying to compare myself in the business world and measure success on that basis. You go out and do something really weird like this, and now I've come back. There's been several other people in the industry and other industries that have really surpassed, like really leapfrog straight over me. Yeah. And I don't have that feeling anymore of like competitive pressure. I'm like, now my story's a bit weird. Yeah. I love my story.
Yeah.
Like now I'm Jeff at the back of that boat.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel great. So someone could be 2, 3, 4 times have acquired more, more wealth than I have. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm good. Yeah. I've got enough to play.
Yeah.
You know, I just spent 4 years sleeping in the dirt. The benchmark for what I'm prepared to live like is changed.
That's so good.
I never asked you this on the first episode, and I should have. I should have asked you, what is the
Will
mind...
you sponsor the party?
Yes. But what's your mindset going into a trek for 3 years, or I guess unknown amount of time, knowing potentially you could die on this trip? Like that mindset that's courageous in a way, or is it blind ignorance? Like, I don't know. What's your sort of mindset going into that?
You run through the thought of returning back home, not having completed it. There's no way I want to be that guy. Yeah. Like that almost seems like a lifelong sentence, a fate worse than death.
Yeah, he tried to do this, but he failed.
Yeah.
Fuck. But then that feeds into like, what are other people thinking, da-da-da. But then you got to live with yourself, like. Yeah.
It's like you want to be the guy that's completed it.
Yeah.
You know,
if you had have failed and had to come back, would you have done it again until you finished? Or you would have just done it regardless?
You would have had to come up, like, whether it's some mental arithmetic in order to come up with how can I spin this into a success?
Yeah.
But the moments that I was having to contend with, whether it's any of the rescues or when it's really kind of pushing us, the thought of it being over and that being a fail and then having to live life after that as a fail, that was way more daunting than making a decision.
Because it was so publicly, you were so publicly, I'm doing this.
But that's our overthinking of how much someone else is thinking about what we're doing.
Yes.
Here I am out on the camel track thinking, what are people back home going to be thinking? Everyone back home.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just
not
like, fuck, gotta get my taxes in.
Yeah.
Not giving a shit. Not giving it 1 second thought.
Yeah.
I'm giving it a lot more thought than they are. But it's
interesting that we think that people think so many things about us.
They
don't give a fuck about us. No one gives a fuck about anyone but themselves, really. When they really do deep down, they potentially care about their family members' health and close friends' health and well-being, but to a point, they won't prioritize it above their own. So it's always, you're still always self-interested.
Yeah.
You can be like a supportive of a friend and you can be supportive of those around you, but we're all selfish creatures. Yeah. So I think understanding that yourself, you end up realizing that there's nothing really to worry about because no one really does give a fuck, whether you've done good or bad.
Even if it was a fail, it wouldn't have been a fail because you would have achieved so much to get to that point.
Yeah.
No doubt you would have just gone, right, next time I do it, or in 3 weeks when I recover from this, I'm just going to go there. And when I get to that point, I've learned from it, and I'm going to go here.
Well, I mean, when we got out of Canberra and we experienced the bushfire, did I talk about the bushfire last time?
Did you take a wrong turn or something?
It made you divert?
Yeah, no. So that was it. That was it. The one in Tassie. So the one coming out of Canberra was like when all the bushfires were up and down the east coast. Yeah. So I got into a place called Brindabella, and I was camped out there for about 10 or so days. People were offering, look, we can come and maybe truck you out because I'm having to walk through pretty close to a front line to get past it. But I'm like, I'm only just over 2,000 Ks in. I can't let go now.
Yeah.
So I voluntarily chose to, as soon as they said, like, you've got 3 days to get to Tume at 100 Ks away, I voluntarily chose to go through a pine plantation, through Bondo State Forest, within 3 to 4 Ks from the front line.
Yeah.
Even though that's pretty much, if fire comes through a state forest like that, you're cooked.
Yeah.
That was much better alternative than getting trucked out and finishing.
Yeah. Wow.
And then you're like shitting myself for the first day, like getting like burning alive is terrible. So I'm feeling this complete lack of control. So I get my 308 out, load the magazine, and chuck another 5 or 6 bullets in my top pocket.
Oh, just in case.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'll just shoot the camels, shoot the dog, and shoot myself.
Fuck.
And felt immediate relief.
Yeah.
You know, like, because it was like, I'm
it's
back
on
in
your
control.
terms. Yeah.
You know, like, it's like, maybe I could burn, or like this one here, at least I'm calling the shots, and just walk forward with confidence. And it wasn't until like a day or two after when I'm in Tumut that I'm like, you just loaded your gun to shoot yourself and went, oh, thank fuck.
Perspective. But that's cool, man, because you did take, although it's like a pretty fucking morbid subject, you took control and ownership. If it was going to end, it was going to end on your terms and not on anyone else's. So,
and it's
controlling what you can control.
It's a weird mindset to realize that you've gone through, because everything in there is voluntary.
Yeah.
You know, like, so there's no other situation that I can blame or just bad luck or anything like that. You know, there is a get out of jail at every single point of that.
Yeah.
That doesn't involve, you know, burning alive or shooting yourself.
Yeah, yeah. I think you would be an excellent participant for Survivor. Would you ever do Survivor?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
I reckon you'd fucking nearly win.
The reality TV thing.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure.
However they want to spin you.
So,
I think you got the resilience.
Married at first sight, yeah?
Yeah.
It's like fucking Survivor, man. Like, good luck getting out alive.
I've toyed with like applying for, I wouldn't want to do Married at First Sight, fuck that, but like something like The Bachelor, because I think that would be wicked just to boost my comedy tours.
No, I'd love like I'd love to be in like a crossover of like, you know, Survivor and
Bachelor.
Match, or so, you know, Survivor Bachelor. Yeah.
Married at First Survivor. Like a dating Survivor game would be nuts. Fucking. What's the it's called Alone, that series?
Yeah. I think
Together.
the only one I would do is Amazing Race.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And
That'd be
the
cool.
alone one would be very cool.
Well, you'd almost done it.
I'd be keen to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can apply.
Do you think like those? Actually, that's probably one that you couldn't just do it. You'd have to do it. You'd have to do it as a team.
No, but that would be the best. Like, there's other people that was like, oh yeah, I've been living in teepees for fucking 7 years, and you know, shoot shit with a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh yeah, I've been in the office the last 12 months, but you know, looking for some time off.
Yeah.
You know, and out there just digging up worms and having a ball.
I think
do you think you could? Like, I know you jest.
No chance.
But I know you jest, but you're a very good problem solver, and you're a lot smarter than you give off. So I think, given a situation where you genuinely have to, I think you'd find a way.
I wouldn't volunteer to do Alone.
No, I mean, like, if like end of the world sort of shit, like you're alone, you got nothing else, you have to survive. You jest and you say, oh, I'd be fucking dead in 3 days, but I think you'd be able to at least you'd scrap, you'd forage, you'd do something.
I mean, like that guy that
figure it out.
I can't remember what the name of the book, but it is in WA somewhere where he got stranded and he was eating like bugs and worms and ants and you know, like he's next to some dam and he survived for like 60 days or something like that.
Wow.
Well, that was recent.
Was it that bloke and he came out of the book, they found him and he was like super skinny? I feel like...
I assume he was pretty skinny.
Yeah.
If you put on weight, you're like...
I think there was someone recently, and it was just like pretty close, like I'd say Serpentine Falls or something like that, and they had a fall somewhere. I can't remember. I feel like it was within the last year or so.
Sure, it wasn't just Joe Biden at a press conference.
They broke a leg or something like that, and
fuck.
And they got stuck, and they had to eat like grubs and stuff that they could find until someone found them. And they survived. Yeah, but they were still severely malnutritioned.
I mean, did I mention last time about the people who came across us when I was in that really kind of remote stretch that I kind of freaked out a bit?
No, not from memory, but even if you did, we'll re-say it.
All right,
people can go listen to the episode again.
It's so 30th of June, and you know, in the financial services, that's kind of like a bit of time for celebration in the financial year. So I'm out on this really remote stretch going through the Gibson Desert at this stage. So it's about 420 k's where there's no water for the camels. They go nearly a month without water during this stretch. Right in the middle, a couple of caravanners over the last few weeks had given me a beer here and a beer there, and I'd saved all of them up. I'm going to have my 9 beers for end of financial year.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm about 5 or 6 beers in. And so because I haven't had any water for ages, like there's also no shower, like so I'm a month off a shower, and this 4-wheel driving camper van rocks up.
Wow.
And they're like, what are you doing here? I'm like, 30th of June party, you know? Like,
Doing my taxes.
yeah. And so they've gone, no, what are you doing with the camels? I'm like, that's just how I get around, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, we only passed a camel about 2 k's back. Heading this way, and I'm like, it's got to be a bull camel coming in, you know?
Oh, no.
I look over, I see this camel, boom, 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 down the road. So I was like, shit. So fucking hell, I run back to my camp, grab the 308, and start running back. So all they've seen is me just go, fuck, grab a rifle and run straight towards them. So their eyes are like dinner plates. They're like, what the fuck? We're in the middle of nowhere. Sun's just going down. They're like, this is not going to end well. So I run past them because it's rude to shoot through people. Yeah. And get to the other side, and down this bull camel is about 10, 15 metres away. Go up, put another bullet in the head so he's not in any pain. And then I pull my knife out and I'm like, we're going to have some camel stew for dinner. You keen?
Yeah.
And the girl goes, oh, no, we've prepared tofu for our dinner.
Oh, that's
my God. Fuck. They're dead in a day. Those guys are dead in a day.
Mate, they were gone.
Yeah.
They were out
I just see a drunk bloke grab his rifle and shoot a camel. Let's get into it. No, thank you.
Fuck. Imagine the story they'd be telling.
Yeah.
And we just got out.
Fuck. Yeah, that was the one thing I always remember now is that bull camels will just fuck your camel up until they take dominance.
Oh,
So-
it's just incredible that it's such a pest. Like, as in it's a not a pest, but
They're like Hayden Ballantyne.
are they? Is that what they'd be considered?
Camels are a
Well,
pest,
they're declared a pest, but mate, these guys were instrumental in building what Australia is today. Like the first time we ever got a message from London through to Sydney was because the camels built the overland telegraph line from south to north.
Yeah, right.
So before that, it was all, carrier pigeon or whatever they were doing back then. But the first time to pick up the phone and get a telegram or, call
Thanks to
through
the camels.
is all the Afghan camel handlers and their camels that came across built that overland telegraph line.
So they're introduced.
Yeah.
Well,
So the first ones came over for the Burke and Wills expedition.
Yeah.
There was a couple before that, but the first successful use of them in a trekking nature was with Burke and Wills.
Yeah.
They all die or something?
Burke and Wills?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it wasn't originally the Burke and Wills trek.
Yeah.
Right? So it was Burke
Two other people and they died.
it was Burke and some other bloke.
Drunk bloke shot him with
remember his
a
name.
rifle.
and they were really slow because they were carrying dining room tables, crockery, all this shit. So they were really slow moving.
Yeah.
And they were trying to get this prize that the government had set, going the first people to trek from south to north and open up that kind of route will get this government grant, this government money. And Sturt had taken off a few months after Burke and Wills had it, and he was quick.
Yeah.
So they're like, holy shit, we've got to get rid of some stuff. And they were getting rid of still kept the dining room table, but got rid of a lot of other stuff. One of the things they had was 270 litres of rum.
Wow.
The official reason was to prevent scurvy in the camels. So the 2IC goes, mate, I'm really concerned about the scurvy issue.
Yeah.
So if you get rid of the rum, I'm gone.
Yeah.
So this was near a place, Poon Carry, up the Darling River. Okay. So they dump off the 270 litres of rum and the 2IC. And, and he's like, no one hears from him again.
Yeah.
And Wills gets the call up to the plate, and that's the point where it became the Burke and Wills trek.
Yeah, right.
2IC died of alcohol poisoning.
Yeah. I didn't know that because I borrowed my housemate's swag, it was a Burke and Wills, I think, brand, the swag. And then he told me that they were on an expedition and they died because they didn't pack enough water. Was that them or is that?
I
got my wires crossed.
They died next to the dig tree, so it was only a few hours because they chose to keep on going from this point all the way up to the north to claim the prize.
Yeah,
made it all the way back, and the party that was waiting for them had left a few hours earlier.
Yeah, right.
They waited an extra month or 6 weeks, 7 weeks or something like that. But
Wow.
they came out in the morning, and then the afternoon Burke and Wills came in.
Fuck.
God.
And they just had no water and died at that spot.
There was some supplies underneath a tree, but they didn't dig it up
Oh,
for some reason.
wow.
And then they ate the wrong things and similar
Into the wild.
Into the wild bloke.
So how would they know that they've been up to the north?
Because they left a note saying, "Trust us." Cool.
So I just like, I went.
Yeah.
No one can fact check.
So you, like, having gone up through the northern part of WA, I guess, we have buffalo, hey? Buffalo?
Water buffalo.
Water buffalo.
Yeah, so they're...
Are they introduced as well?
No idea. I don't think so.
Because I was gobsmacked when I found out. I think is it Cameron Haynes or who's the Australian hunter that goes anyway?
Yeah. I think I've seen him with one. Yeah,
he's always he's getting like water buffalo and big deer and stuff like that. But like I had no idea we had that shit in Australia, and they're just fucking and they're huge.
We never went that far north on the track, but at Uluru, they've got at the camel farm they've got a water buffalo at the back, and he's quiet as.
Okay.
So I'll give you a photo of Jeff Wilson sitting on his back like a Buddha.
On the buffalo.
On the buffalo with the big horns and stuff like that.
And he's trying to lop it off so he can smoke some fucking elephant dung.
He's got the biggest grin on his face because he's like, I'm a vet and I never imagined I'd be sitting on the back of a water buffalo.
That's nuts.
I didn't even think there was much water near Uluru.
What was the elephant dung like? Did it do anything? Any high?
No, there's no high. So I suppose it's just a really grassy kind of, dung.
Because was it mixed with tobacco?
Mate,
Or
it was,
was he like
no, it was just
straight out dung?
Mate, I've been...
That's so strange.
I've never looked at a piece of shit the same way again. Like, can I smoke it?
Yeah, he does look different.
Fuck.
Trust me, stick to herbivores.
I was a herbivore and now I'm a carnivore.
Yeah, he's flipped it around, eh?
I've been doing carnivore for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I've been saying that.
It's been good.
Yeah.
Very good. I even feel like today I've been able to speak with more clarity and less ums and ahs and I don't know, energy's really good still considering normally after one podcast I'm fucked. We've just done 2 and I still feel like I can keep going. Like I don't know. It's quite good. Would you have experienced a lot of that sort of style diet through your travels?
Like out there you're craving any kind of fresh vegetables. So any time you could get it, and you were trying to maintain as much as you possibly could along the way. And then I'd have a lot of the rehydrated stuff. So deb, mash, rehydrated peas and stuff like that. So,
but you said before you lost 30 kilos just by quitting drinking.
Yeah.
That's how easy it is. It was just... You stopped drinking and 30 kilos fell off you.
So I think the body had the shell shock of stopping drinking.
Yeah.
And then did intermittent fasting second month.
Yeah.
And slowly ramped up the training in the third month.
Nice.
So a majority of that 30 kilos went in 3 months.
Yeah, but remember, like, not just removing alcohol isn't the only part that would play a factor because you're then more motivated to exercise.
Yeah, correct.
You're not eating,
and you don't want to waste your time off the grog.
Yeah,
This is going to be 4 months. And it's going to be. I'm going to not waste a second of it.
Yeah, because you'd be more active as well. Everything. Because when you're drinking, you feel like shit the next day if you drink too much. Well, it puts on weight.
I'm off it now because of the medication on the eye.
Yeah.
But also I've been told I cannot do any exercise. Like I can't raise my
blood pressure
rate. Yeah. Anything to raise it. I can't do anything jolty, so I can't jog. Even low intensity stuff.
For how long?
No, I'll risk it. Even if my eyeball explodes as I finish, I'm fine. I'm fine with that.
The other one-eyed monster.
How long for?
So I've got some more appointments with the specialist as we come through the next few weeks. So it's just a week-by-week thing, I'm just at the whims of the advice.
And you got to fully watch your diet then, really. That's all you can do, hey?
Pretty much. Diet. Like I'm hitting the vitamin C tablets like they're going out of fashion. So they said that 3 to 5 grams of that a day.
Yeah, right. Vitamin Coke.
Fucking hell.
I'm not sure if that helps with the eye.
Helps with the weight.
Numb it.
It helped with the weight loss, I guess.
I was going to ask before, it just popped up. What's the weirdest thing that you've insured? Have you had any weird insurance requests?
We just got one through for a tiger farm.
Wow.
Yeah, over in Queensland.
Fuck,
so,
really?
And I'm thinking, maybe we can help there. And she's like, we also want to do interactive experiences where the people can like interact with the tigers.
Oh my God.
Is someone sitting by with like a tranquilizer dart? Like
now,
just in case the human freaks out?
So how does something like that get assessed? Because you see in Jest the movie where what's that movie where
Tiger King?
No, the movie where the guy needs to get life insurance and needs to and it ends up being an Aussie guy who does fucking skydiving and all that shit. It's a comedy. I can't remember. Ben Stiller. He's always safe.
Life of Schmidt or something?
No, he's always safe.
Yeah,
That I know which one you're talking about, but he's the
assessor.
assessor.
He's the insurance assessor. Yeah.
Fuck. Can't remember what it is.
Meet
Along came Polly. He won't even
Polly,
eat the nuts or something. And it's in Jest, obviously. He's assessing this guy's like his life insurance, and he does fucking base jumping and all this shit. Is it like a time where you actually go, right, if it's a person, we have to go assess what their lifestyle's like and stuff like that?
Yeah, because we don't do the life stuff. Luckily, when I got my life and income protection policy, I was an insurance broker in the office.
Yeah.
Right? And then you've already got the policy, and then you start doing some crazy stuff.
Yes.
So, as a broker, like anything that doesn't fit down the normal chute generally comes across your desk because they'll call a couple of direct insurers. And they'll just keep on getting told no. And so eventually the hard to solve problems come across your desk. So
That'd be pretty interesting.
So, but what do you do? Is it just worth of an extra value if it's
how do you figure out? Or? Have you insured them or not?
So you've got different markets. So you've got the Australian market, and then you've got overseas markets. Yeah. So Lloyd's of London is one of the larger kind of ones. And then you've also got unauthorised foreign insurers. So
that sounds trustworthy.
I know, right? So it's almost like it feels sometimes like I've got a guy in South Africa that'll have a punt.
Yeah.
So there are various kind of markets out there. There's a bit of stuff that obviously everyone just kind of calls barleys on. It's quite a hard market at the moment. So people aren't really prepared to take
because unauthorised foreign, that unauthorised bit, surely you don't want that. What does it mean?
It just means it's not. It doesn't run through the Australian regulatory kind of.
So it might be harder to make the actual claim.
If you make a claim and it doesn't go your way, there's no arbiter to kind of go, all right, here's your support
it's an insurance broker's dream. So, no, Tiger Farm, you got eaten. Should have seen that coming.
So what do you assess with the Tiger Farm? Like if you're insuring a Tiger Farm that they want to let people walk
Is it for the tigers, the insurance, or will they have to find
or the people
public liability insurance for people off someone else?
Well, that's you're looking to try this is a new business that's trying to kind of get off the ground. So you want to give someone like that options, and they might want to do an interactive experience, but they don't have a whole lot of experience or track record in doing that, and it might be hard to get someone on board with it. So you go, look. You might only have an unauthorised foreign insurer if you really want to do those experiences. If they're just looking and on the other side of the cages, then you find here's your normal kind of policy.
Yeah.
Here's the difference between here's the risks, and you just give them all the information they need, and they make the call based off as much info you can give them.
Yeah, right.
Even something as like dangerous sports. So we had David Reynolds on, and obviously there's fences, stuff like that, but. Surely their insurance must be pretty, like F1 and stuff. Their insurance stuff must be pretty scary.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that operates without insurance.
Yeah, right.
Insurance is kind of choice. If you're an F1 team and, the guy who owns the team is worth $8 billion, maybe he's not worried if the F1 car has a little ding.
Yeah.
But I mean,
that's the Italian team. They've got a little ding in the driver's seat.
Well, I meant more for crowds.
And then it's like
people watching.
How many people are doing it as well?
Yeah.
Like if you're in a really kind of weird sport like zorbing, which is like where they got that big inflatable ball and you roll down the hill.
Yeah.
And there's not many people doing it, so there's probably not going to be an insurer that goes, I'm going to specifically cater for that.
Yeah.
But if you're doing motorsport and there's a lot of people that are doing motorsport, then the insurer can kind of come in and go, all right, we're going to hedge our bets because we can write 10,000 policies on people doing motorsport.
I find this stuff so interesting.
So they get to spread the risk.
Wow. Even though it's insurance, I find it how interesting.
Yeah.
How's this? Like the way that our insurance market is protected, like across the globe, is by a series of reinsurance policies where other countries will kind of back us.
Wow.
And we'll back other countries. So otherwise we have a major event that comes through and then all of a sudden all the Australian insurers go bust.
Yeah.
So the Australian insurers might cover an event in a flood up to $4 billion worth of damage.
Yeah.
Then after that, they've got an insurance policy with Swiss
Wow.
RE, and
They
so
cover the company's
Switzerland-
payouts.
Correct, over and above
Wow.
a certain amount. So the insurance company itself has an excess where they have to pay it up, and then someone else pays. And then the Australian reinsurance market might cover the back end of Tokyo for 2 of their insurance companies. So that way, no matter what happens anywhere in the world, the risk just kind of gets spread across the globe to protect our whole entire industry.
So who insures the alien invasion that's coming shortly?
No one. We're
No
all
one.
I was about to say, if something, okay, that's far more science fiction, but like, what if that was to happen? Fucking alien comes along and blows up a building and that's insured. Like, is that act of God?
What is that an act? Because that proves there's no God if there's an alien.
Well, there's a couple of different types of insurance policies. So you've got one where it's like, this is what is covered.
Yeah.
Right? And then you've got another style of insurance policy that goes, everything is covered except this.
Ah.
All right. So depending on which one you have.
I don't reckon either of them
would
have alien invasions. They're like, this is what's covered. They're not going to go except alien invasion.
Or except Project Bluebeam fake alien invasion.
Yeah.
Look, and if you want to find someone who goes, all right, I'm going to take a bet that aliens don't exist, and they happen to be an insurer.
Yeah.
Right, then you can go out there and sell alien insurance if you like, and anyone who really thinks it's going to happen can go out and get it.
We should.
If you've got someone who's prepared to fund it and someone who's prepared to buy it, then
I think that the CIA would fund it.
We know you're listening. So,
that's cool as fuck. What was your most satisfying, because you brokered the deal, right?
Yeah.
And what was your most satisfying deal?
like we insure a lot of tradies, like I said, and a lot of subbies.
Yeah.
Right. And you can get someone who's just a careless kind of mistake, leaves a power tool on at a work site.
Yeah.
And then it triggers a fire and the whole entire thing, burns down.
Yeah.
So, you've just got a one-man band.
Yeah.
Who's a carpenter. And all of a sudden, he's got this $500,000 issue
Yeah.
that's come to his table, and he thinks his whole world's over.
Yep.
And that costs him $500
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
excess, right? And he gets to carry on.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Like that's a life-altering kind of moment.
Yeah.
So to get when that kind of happens,
Yeah,
you're like,
it's a good feel
This
good.
is pretty
Yeah.
damn
If that
good.
carpenter was Jesus, would have just thrown some wine on it and turned it into water. It's gone.
I'm interested.
That's awesome.
I'm interested where insurance goes with AI. As in not how AI is used for insurance. I
Yep.
mean, like the dangers of AI and how that is insured.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things with AI, like at the moment, there's aggregators and people that kind of sit behind the scenes and use certain programs to determine how much an insurance policy should cost.
Yeah.
You let AI come in and start to take that over, the human element goes out, and it will just charge you what you should be charged.
Yeah.
So
Which is pretty good for us, but not for you guys.
which is not great
Yeah.
for some people. Like you're in a high risk area which is a low income area, and all of a sudden it just becomes unaffordable. Like if you remove the human element, it's a dangerous thing. Like the Australian insurance companies, like a lot of them are backed by our super funds. And so if we have a profitable insurer, then most of your industry super funds and that perform well. There's not just some guy sitting at the top going like, "Wah, Steve won't get his car claim paid."
Yeah.
No, like not only do they support Australian businesses, everyday kind of people, and they have a minor incident, they're generally also responsible for being a secure investment for people's superannuation funds. So a lot of the people giving shit to the insurance company probably have investment. But completely unaware because they've got an industry super fund that considers it blue chip.
Have you got any horror stories where someone's come to you and like their insurance was off or like they thought they were going to get something and they've been fucked over?
It's generally user related error, but
Yeah.
like insurance companies occasionally do go through a bit of a rough patch where they put you through a bit of a ringer on the claims, but all in all, they're not too bad.
Yeah.
Because they deal with the complaints so much that if they go through that rough patch, eventually they just get sick of dealing with the complaints and they come good. So who's good and who's firing off at any one time, that changes all the time. They get it right and they're nailing it, they get ahead of themselves and they drop off for 6 months or 12 months and then they're back up. So that's why you have a broker.
Yeah.
Because essentially he's the one that's got it is all across that kind of market and it's got that situational awareness to go, that one might be cheaper, but the last 12 months they've been nothing but a nightmare.
Yeah. I'd rather pay a little bit more knowing I'm going to be completely fucking sorted.
Yeah.
Is insurance fraud expensive to your company, or is it easy?
No, generally
It always gets found out.
we've been, touch wood, pretty good. Nothing that we've kind of seen.
Yeah.
We've been able to gently suggest to a couple of people that maybe the road they're about to go down is not advisable, and give them a bit of a reminder about the imprisonment and fines that sit behind it.
Yeah.
So maybe the situation you've just described to me to get your $2,000 is not a great way to go. And I'll have a think about it. And then that's it. They don't come back. So we seem to have been able to give them the advice they need not to do something stupid.
I've maybe we can wrap it up after this, but I've got one more insurance question.
Yeah. I fucking love when someone's a specialist in something.
Yes.
Like something like insurance.
Yes.
I just like,
so
because you know so much about it. It's interesting to me.
I've always held the idea that health insurance is fucking stupid to have.
Well, that's because you haven't had back surgery, cunt.
Well, if I've always,
I'm not sure where you think this is going. It's not where you think.
I've always felt, and this is where I want to know where I'm wrong. I've always felt that if it's an emergency, we have healthcare system that does it like that instantly, it's free. So why am I paying health insurance to do it and prioritize me and maybe give me a private room? That's what I've always. Maybe I'm missing like fucking 10 other things that I'm not seeing, and so you would be able to explain.
I know for a fact if you've done your ACL and you're private, you're waiting 12 months to get it done.
No.
In public, if you're private, you go in.
Yeah, no, it's not 12 months. It's just like as soon as they can get you in. It might
which
be
is a long backlog,
at the
right?
moment.
Yeah, so I'm not a health insurance expert because we don't sell that.
Yeah.
I've had a pretty recent experience with it.
Yeah.
I was still confused about how the system works. So I got admitted to get the surgery in the emergency department over in Canberra. I went to a public hospital. That's just kind of where they took us, and then they're asking me to sign these things, and you're mid-injury, and I'm like, is there a private option? And they're telling me that there was a time issue as well.
Yes.
So I didn't end up in a private system. Now that I'm over here, I'll probably go down the private route.
Yeah.
And it's in there, and I'm paying for the top of the line.
So, but which is my point, because it was an emergency, it gets sorted. If it's not an emergency, yes, an ACL's not great, but like unless you need it done, you get it done for free.
$1,000 for optical issues, or $1,500 for optical every year, and I'm like, I reckon we might get burned through a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of those things from what I've seen people who've used health insurance funds successfully is where they use it as a part of their maintenance. They're like, he's got access to funding, counselling and support services and gym memberships, and a lot of them have a lot of membership discounts you can get.
Okay.
And you get slugged
10%
with
at Woolies, and you can do this here. So I think if you use it, you have to actively use it well in order to get the benefit out of it.
But then you still have to pay for the operation as well, 50% of it, don't you as well?
No.
Yeah, it's like a percentage.
You pay a small.
Yeah.
My back surgery was like just a click under 20 grand, I think, or 40 grand. And I was maybe $1,800 out of pocket or something like that.
Okay, so and that's what always pisses me off, because you still have to pay.
Yeah, it's
and
fucking
I'm like,
annoying.
And
I had to pay for the anaesthetist. I think it was like $500 that wasn't covered.
And now that surgery,
excess.
you could have just gone on the public thing. Maybe you had to wait an extra 12 months and got it.
I wouldn't have been able to wait.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that right?
I don't know. Some surgeries are covered and some aren't.
Because it'd be elective or not elective.
I'll find an expert for you that's also quite interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So
Another one.
I'll go through some extensive market research by just getting on the piss with some people from health insurance. And after my extensive surveys, I'll deliver one to you.
Okay.
Well, you got to pay for the Medicare levy anyway. So when you weigh it up for an extra $100 or $200,
you mean in your tax?
Yeah. Then you got thing, but for me, like, you got massages, fucking remedial, all that sort of shit, which I use all the time for my back and my legs. So,
Yeah.
And then even like as simple as like your teeth, like your wisdom.
Yeah, the teeth. Oh, I totally see it for teeth and dental. But I just
out. It was like
other stuff. Like I'm always, we've got a free healthcare system, one of the best in the world. Why wouldn't we just, like, if it's an emergency, it gets done? That's what I've always thought.
The public over in the ACT, like, I'm not complaining about the public service that I got over there. I mean, I think they did a pretty damn good job on the eye. Like, we've managed to hopefully have a foundation to be able to build something off later on.
Of course.
Maybe I get to the private hospital expert when he gets here and you might go, what the fuck did that go into?
Yeah.
But it seems like it's gone really well. They've managed to save a lot of it. The staff were great. You know.
Word of warning as well. I got stung. This pissed me off so much, but my wisdoms were like excruciating. I needed them out.
Yeah.
I went in. I had like the first half of the operation. I don't know what it was, but it was split in two. And it was just before New Year's Eve. So my excess was like $400 or something, 500 maybe. And then because I got the next part of it in at the start of January, I don't know if it was my wisdom, it was some operation I had. But the next part of it was literally like 10 days later, because it was either side of the year, I then had to pay another 500 excess because it was a fresh year.
Oh, you're
that
kidding.
Fucking infuriated me.
That's annoying.
Yeah.
Well, just save anything you got to get done. All right. You know, Jeff's a vet. You know,
Get him
4th of August.
Do it
you know.
We get neutered.
Fucking hell.
Sick.
I've really enjoyed this episode because
Yes,
it didn't.
awesome.
It had adventure. It had mindset. It had entrepreneur. It had insurance. There was a lot going on.
Expertise.
I liked this episode. It was fucking good. A couple of bangers. Anything else you want to talk about or plug before we?
No, it's all good.
Thanks for coming back.
I think we'll get you back
Good to see
again,
you again.
on the beers.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have a
And
bit
at the new studio.
On the rum. So I'm going to bring in a really nice rum next time.
All right.
Yeah.
And you guys smoke cigars at all?
No.
Yeah. Dabble. I'm not. Yeah.
Dabble?
Dabble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know where there's 270 litres of rum.
Maybe we can get Jeff to hook us up with some elephant shit.
Wait,
I thought you were going to say ketamine.
I'd give it a crack just to see what, experience it.
Yeah,
see what
yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
If he got something.
I'd give it a taste.
I'll
Is it legal?
I'll dry out some camel shit. It comes in the perfect little nuggets as well.
Didn't
pipe
camels
size.
used to be a brand of smoke anyway?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, we should use this as an opportunity to talk about the new studio quickly.
Yeah.
We've signed a lease.
We've signed a lease. So
Goodbye to this place.
Yeah, got the deposit down at opposite the Rosemount, and it looks sick. It looks like it's going to be a great space.
We're going to be able to deck it out properly, fully. Yeah, it's going to be incredible. But we'll have a little going away episode, I reckon, with Wolfie, hey, next week. Maybe we'll tear this place apart.
Fuck, actually, Wolfie might. They've got to do an inspection report.
Oh yeah,
So,
And you're much closer to a pub now.
I know.
Oh yeah, you have a local.
Yeah.
So you got the Rosie, you got Pot Black, you know.
And Temping Bowling next door.
it's going to be good fun.
I think it'll be great. I'm not going to be able to use it for the first 3 months that we have.
Yeah,
it.
because you're basically gone almost once we've sort of set it up. Hey, when do you leave?
July 21st.
Wow. Okay.
So-
Well, we'll have to get a few episodes in before you leave. But it's a big step for our podcast. It's a commitment.
Yeah.
And but we can work out of it as
Financially.
well.
So, yeah.
But it's fun, man.
If you know any mates that like the potty, get them to join the Patreon so they can help support us.
Yeah, because we're still not
sort
earning
the
enough
rent.
money to pay for the rent. But
Should be sick.
I'm pretty excited, man.
I want to start a PS5 FIFA pod as well, where
Yeah, well, that front lounge room
Yeah.
is you can set it up properly instead of it all being in the same area.
should be cool.
Then I don't have to fucking shit myself every time with people here worrying about our podcast equipment
if you
getting
do
damaged.
shit yourself, we can smoke it.
Yeah, so fuck yeah, sick episode.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thanks.
we'll see you next week.